Welcome. We are indeed so glad that you are here with us at Inner Light Ministries. Let's just take a breath, huh? Today we're going to be talking about news as a prayer request. Huh. I don't know about you, but sometimes, it just seems like there is so much going on. I hear people talking about feeling overwhelmed and not knowing what to do. And today we're just going to get into that. Just take another breath, settle in. Regardless of where you are, what time it is, when you're tuning into this, it's the right time. And if this is your very first time, I want to say a special, special welcome to you here at Inner Light. At Inner Light, we are just so dedicated, just beyond dedicated to universal spiritual principles. These things that are transcendent of time and history and culture and tradition. It's just the stuff of life. It's just the stuff of life. And we are here applying ancient wisdom to modern time issues. Okay. There's something that's beyond what it is that we see. And we can tap into the wisdom of the ancestors. We can tap into the wisdom of the ages, because the truth is the truth is the truth. It doesn't shift. It doesn't change. And we're about that practical application. Yeah, I may tell you some stories from times before, or may even quote something from sacred text, but what does it mean for you? For you. And see, because they're universal spiritual principles, you can apply them to anything and everything. The same principles that work for the so-called large work for the so-called small. It's the same stuff, whether it's about your health, your wealth, the political environment, your relationships. It's all the same thing. So as we're going through the things of today, as we're talking about the principles and how they relate, Think about the totality of your life. Okay. How might you apply this to what's going on in your job? How might this work at home? How might this work in the political arena? See, try it everywhere. Everywhere. Newsflash, you're a verb. You're not a noun. You're not just some entity in the universe that everything is happening to or happening at. You are a place in a space in the universe that life is happening through. It's happening in, through, and uniquely as you. We're energy beings incarnate in flesh form. And one of the things that we do here at Inner Light is we help recalibrate ourselves, okay, so that we're vibrating at the energy and frequency level of divinity, okay, not calamity of what's going on in the outer world, but in the divinity. We offer these tools, see, these tools for living that allow us to practically apply these universal principles. And a tool that will serve you every single time are affirmative activations. Okay? These are ways of looking at things, they are ways of getting possibility consciousness. They're precepts, they are principles, they're practices. They are ways for you to incorporate and embody so that you can actually be the things that you want to be. And just like with anything, the way that we get committed to it is through practice. It's through the repetition. So these affirmative activations that we're going to soon share with you, come back to them. Come back to them. Every week, it is exactly 100 words. Exactly 100 words. And as we go over them together, I'm going to invite you afterwards to, even if you just choose one line, if you just choose one sentence and say, here's a place that I am going to anchor in over the next week or more, that's going to be the focus of my attention, where I'm going to be moving towards more embodiment of this. Okay. It is so necessary right now that we go up and up and up in our vibration and not be pulled down by a bunch of negativity and lack and limitation and divisiveness. And these are tools that lift us back up. So if you are able to, I'm going to invite you to actually say the affirmations with me as they appear on your screen. I keep the light on for hope and possibility. In control of my daily disposition, I choose to be positive and cheerful. Staying upstairs in consciousness, I view the news as a prayer request. Doom and gloom cannot darken my doorstep. I'm a cheerleader for humanity, forever rooting for our success. Discouragement never gets an invitation from me. Disagreements don't devolve into divisiveness. I don't throw punches or pity parties, curse or condemn. There's room enough for difference. We're in life together. There is a way for all of us to win. Will you join me in finding it? Soak that in. And I want you to just come back to this and think about think like one of those that you'd like to focus your attention on. Let's just take a breath. Let's just take a breath. We're talking today about news as a prayer request. And part of the inspiration for this is that I just get so many calls, emails, phone messages, conversations, social media stuff where people are really, really struggling right now with a sense of overwhelm that they're feeling about the news. What's going on politically, what's going on in the environment, what's going on in such social justice arenas, in education, in human rights. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And there's becoming the increasing tendency for people wanting to protect themselves and say, oh, I don't want to look at that. That's just like too much. If I pay attention to that, that's going to like drag me down. And they're looking for ways that they can cope with this stuff. Like, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can do? And one of the things that I say often is treat the news like a prayer request. Treat the news like a prayer request. Then I get the blank stare. What does that mean? Like, what exactly does that mean? And one of the things that we're going to be doing is really answering your questions about how to take the things that we're saying and how do we practically apply them. Okay. And we're going to be starting with some questions that have come in from Mobile, Alabama, that have come in from Initial J, who's asking a few questions about this. And one of the first questions that I'll address is this: what does this mean? What does this mean when I say to treat the news like a prayer request? Like, what would that look like? I'm going to couple it with another question that came in about it's implied in the prayer being in the news being a prayer request, that there's some kind of request that's being made. And like, well, what does it mean for the world to admit that it needs help? So let me address this. When I say to treat something like it's a news request, what it means is for you to perceive that what is necessary and beneficial here is for there to be a higher level of consciousness, that things are going on in such a level that there's chaos, there's confusion, there's estrangement, there's conflict, there's stuckness, there's doubt, lack, limitation, like all these different things, and that we need to elevate ourselves out of them. Okay, elevate ourselves out of them. And most of the time, we're busy trying to manipulate people, places, and things. We're busy trying to affect the outer world of effects first. But where the first change comes is inside of us. Just let that sink in for a moment. We live life at the level of our narrative. We live life at the level of our story. So one of the first things that happens in a prayer request is that you rewrite the story. What is it that you see? So if I'm walking down the street and I see someone on the street destitute, perhaps even passed out, okay, that person isn't even conscious enough to ask me for a prayer. Okay? To see something as a prayer request doesn't mean that the situation or the person that you're praying for has asked for the prayer or even admits that they need the prayer. Okay? So if someone has been an active alcoholic for a long time, by the time they get to the point of admitting it, by the time they get to the point of wanting to go into recovery or something like that, people have been praying for them a long time. Their family, the people at the shelter, health professionals that have been working with them. There have been so many other people that have been what we call holding the high watch, seeing the possibility, knowing who you are beyond your stuff. See, with the prayer, you see them for all they can be and you meet them where they are. Okay? You do both. That in your prayer, you're seeing beyond what's manifesting right now. You're seeing greater possibilities. You're creating a narrative that says no matter what it is that's going on here, there's something better, there's something higher, there's something that's more in alignment. Okay, you hear about a friend of yours or relative who's got a cancer diagnosis. Okay, then there's something within you that is receiving that as a prayer request. Okay, listen to the difference between receiving that as a prayer request and receiving that as a death sentence. Okay? And that's what will happen. Too often we'll get news and we take it to the nth degree of disaster. We just can't see our way through. And then we start affirming the worst or the most negative things that we can possibly think of. Our little reptilian brain starts running around with all of its survival mechanisms and techniques. And when it does that, it cuts us off. It cuts us off to being able to see, to see beyond all that, to tap into goodness and compassion and possibilities. So what that looks like to see things as a prayer request is to know that there's more than what meets the eye. Okay. It says that I'm not going to judge by the appearances, that I'm going to know and to affirm that there is a possible resolution, that there can be healing, that there can be outcomes that are a win-win for everybody and doesn't leave anybody out. That's what it means to see it as a prayer request. Now, I'm not saying that the world understands that it needs the prayer request. But you can't let the lack of awareness and understanding that somebody else had of possibility to stop you from praying. Because whatever it is that's happening around in the news, it impacts your life too. It impacts all of our lives. And I dare say that we not only have the right, but that we have the responsibility to recalibrate. We have the responsibility to kick it up a few notches so that we're not pulled down. Just breathe that in for a second. We're all vibing off of each other. If you go into a room, there could be 100 people in the room. And if there are one or two people who like energetically are really off, and heaven forbid they're like fighting or whatnot with each other, energetically, that can spread through the whole room. You can feel it. And even if they aren't saying a whole bunch of words, the sense of like pissosity and just like negative energy that can be coming from somebody, it can fill up the whole room. The converse is also true. That person that walks in the door and is all chipper and bright and jovial and positive, maybe even a good laugh or two, and before you know it, the people around them are laughing. Their smile makes other people smile. See, we're all vibing off of each other. So the question then becomes, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I know some people are saying that I can't watch all this stuff because it drags me down. Okay, I get it. It's not a requirement to sit there and watch and consume commercial news. That's not a requirement. Okay. But that doesn't exempt you from staying upstairs. From staying upstairs. If you're praying for somebody in a hospital, for example, you don't have to have a blow by blow on everything that's happening with their blood count and their CAT scan and every reading out of every machine. You don't have to know all of that. Okay, that's not required. That's not required for you to speak the word, for you to stay up in consciousness, for you to keep affirming and seeing and claiming their greatest health. Okay. And if knowing too much of that is going to throw you off your game, then don't look at the news. Okay. I personally think that it's our civic duty to stay informed at some kind of level, however it is that you choose to do that. But it isn't a requirement that you get all up in there to be able to pray. And whatever it is that you need to do to pray, that's how you handle it. So for me, I do listen to it because it helps me get even more dialed in to what I'm praying for. But that's me. Okay, that doesn't have to be you. Okay. Do whatever it is that you need to do in order for you to keep imagining possibilities beyond what it is that you see. Beyond what it is that you see. So the other question that came in is, how many prayers will it take for things to actually shift? Like, what critical mass of people or energy do we need to make the change? Okay, take a breath. Prayer isn't just a single activity, it's a state of consciousness. Growing up, they used to call it a praying spirit. A praying spirit. Think of it kind of like gratitude. Okay? There can be a very specific moment when something transpires and you actively express gratitude, like you say thank you for something, but an attitude of gratitude, the consciousness of gratitude, is not sitting around and stuck on waiting for particular things to happen before I feel gratitude. In fact, it's the other way around. That when you're in a spirit of gratitude, you wake up with it. You start your day with it. It's a choice that you're making in your consciousness to be appreciative, to see the good in things, to express things that show your thankfulness, and you're not being judgmental or petty or punitive. It's an attitude of gratitude. And when you wake up with that and you carry that throughout your day, that's going to impact what you see. That's going to impact what you experience. Let's just say you're in a room and you're there and you have a bunch of 4-year-olds that just run through. Okay. And they're messy and they're tripping over things and giggling and all the rest of that, just like right in front of you, and appear to be disrupting your conversation. Okay. Now, you could be all grouchy. "Oh, what are those kids coming in here? Don't they have any manners? Nobody's training them. They don't have any respect for the elders." You can do all that. Okay. And I'm not saying that you don't say, "Hey, slow down, you're inside," or, do something to kind of calm that behavior down a little bit. But if you're in an attitude of gratitude, you might just take delight. You might just take delight in the fact that these are children playing and they're having a bunch of fun. Yeah, they might need to temper it a little bit, for the inside, but you're not taking it as somehow you've been put upon. You're not taking it like as though something personally has happened against you. Okay? Breathe that in for a second. Breathe that in. Because I find that's one of the most important things for us to remember, particularly when we're praying for the news. Okay? This may sound really strange, so just hear me out here. Try not to take it so personally. Okay? Even if it personally affects you. But the consciousness that's creating whatever that is predates you, will continue long after you, didn't get started because of you, isn't exclusively directed at you. It's there. It's there in collective consciousness. And the only reason why we ever do anything that's going to hurt or harm somebody else is when we forget who we are. So the prayer helps you remember, I am more than this. The prayer helps you remember everybody around this is more than this. There is no evil outside of what human beings do to one another when they don't know who they are in spirit. It's a form of spiritual amnesia. Hurt people hurt people. Okay, hurt people hurt people. So the more dastardly the deeds are, the greater the evidence is that they're lost. The greater the evidence is that they don't remember who they are. We don't need to join them. We don't need to join them in the darkness. Keep the light on. Keep the light on. Have the compassion that says, I know we can be more than this. And no matter what it is that you're doing, there's something better in you. We just got through celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday last weekend. And this is one of those places where he always stood in praying not only for the oppressed, but the oppressors as well. Recognizing that they too are hurt and harmed by their own oppressive energies. I can remember now seeing that video that I'm sure we've all seen of Derek Chauvin's, the officer's knee on George Floyd's neck. And as I was looking at that, as all of us were looking at that in just like horrific horror, in seeing how there was no appreciation for the humanity of George Floyd. But as I was looking at that, my heart also bled for Chauvin, because I could see that he was acting in a way that had no humanity either. Can we go upstairs? Can we know something? For the people who don't even know it. And here's the thing. You're not just doing it altruistically for everybody else. Treating the news as a prayer request keeps your energy up. See, it keeps you from being depressed. It keeps you from being overwhelmed. It keeps you in the position where you can keep showing up. We need you. We need you. And I mean that so sincerely. We're just starting 2024. And in terms of news, woo! I'm expecting this year to be a doozy. Okay? Just saying. But that means it needs all of us to step it up a few notches. I can hear Michelle Obama in my head now. When they go low, we go high. You know? And I've heard a lot of versions of that. You know, they go low, I go medium, or, you know, they go low and I get down there with them and make sure that they stay, you know, out of the scene, like whatever that is. We got to keep going high. We got to keep going high. Because I guarantee you, everything that is at stake now, it's not about politics. It's not about religion. It's about what frequency is going to be the vibration that we're going to be collectively living on and responding to. Okay. The cast of characters can go and shift and change. It's about the energetic frequency. Okay. Will you, when you're hearing all these things that seem to be off, instead of panicking and worrying about it, take that as a signal, we need to go up. We need to go up. And let it begin with me. Breathe that in for a moment. That is the invitation. That's the invitation right there. A transcendent awareness, a view, a perspective that keeps your heart open, that keeps you engaged, that keeps you seeing beyond what it is that you see. Let's take a breath. And we're going to take this into prayer. Breathe into this moment. Oh God, by any name, still the same. Create in us a clean heart and renew a right spirit within us. We hear the cries. We hear the cries. And above the cries, we hear the voice of God. The cries never crowd out the voice of the divine. Just like the music. The music doesn't stop. There's no amount of bad deeds that can make music stop. It's always there. In the midnight hour, keeping watch with us. In the middle of the circumstances and the conditions, we can sing that little song. My ancestors moaning in the fields. Deep hum coming from the soul. It kept their humanity. I am more than this is our soul's mantra. We are more than this. Regardless of what's happening in the circumstances or the conditions, we do not let it have the last word. God is still God. Even in the midst, God is still God. And nobody does it better. We don't make a God out of people, places, and things. We don't allow anything to define our possibility consciousness. No, we dare. We dare to dream. We dare to imagine. We dare to declare that there is a way even when we can't see it. Because Our God makes a way out of no way time and time again. We dare to call forth the healing, the reconciliation. We dare to call that forth, whether it's in our house or the White House, the courthouse, the schoolhouse. The divine is everywhere. So we have the courage in this moment. We have the courage to call it forth. As divine order, as right action, to call it forth as peace and justice, as civility and oneness. We dare to call it forth now as success, as sufficiency, all needs met, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Where no one live in fear or hunger. All around the world, there's so much need. From disasters to war to famine. For food and clothing and shelter. We call it forth. Healing in the body temple, we call it forth. Sustenance for our needs from day to day. Fiscal stability. Ecological sustainability. Regeneration of this earth. Oh, we call it forth. For we have not been given a spirit of fear of cowardice, but of dunamis power, of agapeo love, and the self-discipline and control. It's who we be. It's who we are. And this is where we live. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's already done. Prayer just opens up my time-blinded eyes to see it. It is good. We get out of the way. We allow it to be. And so it is. Just breathe that in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're a praying community at Inner Light. We are a praying community. Scrolling across your screen right now are the ways to contact our prayer ministry. These are individuals who have studied to hold the highest watch, to see the possibility consciousness that I'm talking about. Don't try to carry everything on your own shoulders. We got your back. We got your back in prayer. And maybe it's something good. Maybe it's something trying to break through. And we're needing to hold that in highest consciousness. You know, everything that I've been talking about, we don't just pray for that which seems to be down and out, but the things that are trying to come through, we pray for those as well. We got you. You can reach us by phone at 831-465-9090 at extension 254. You can also send us an email. The number 4, then the word prayer at innerlightministries.com, and somebody will get back to you with your own personalized prayer. Nothing canned, and all strictly confidential. We got you. Take a breath. Yes, 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 yes. And to find out the things that are going on, just check out our calendar. Some things are in person, some things are um, uh, virtual, and some things are like a little bit of both. Um, I'd like to say thank you again to those that helped to contribute to send our teams and advisors um, to winter camp. Just coming back, they were gone over to King weekend, and or at least for that week. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you for that support. And just to remind you, particularly if you're in the Santa Cruz area, to go by our food bank. Okay, where our food bank is now being housed at Santa Cruz Bible Church at 444 Frederick Street near Soquel Avenue. It opens at noon, and we're pushing out like literally thousands, like 8,000 pounds of food, farmers market style every week. Fresh fruits and vegetables and produce and canned things as well, and packaged good. You get to pick and choose what it is that you want. Okay. Nobody need be hungry here. Okay. We are fortunate enough to live in a bread basket. Here's not a supply problem, it's a distribution problem. So even if it isn't for yourself, just check in on somebody. Just check in on somebody. Maybe it's a family that's got a lot of friends, a single mom, a senior citizen, somebody who's struggling with some health issues. Just make that difference. Okay. And we're helping to provide it. You do the next step. Okay, and make sure that it gets to the right place. I want to invite you to do that and to check us out on our calendar as well. And speaking of that attitude of gratitude, um, it's that conscious giving time. It's that conscious giving time, that time when we invite you to make a contribution, to make a donation. You'll see coming on your screen that there are various ways in which you can do that. And know that all of your gifts are going to support our ministries, they're going to support our programs and all of the wonderful things that we have going on. You'll see there's a QR code. You can use any kind of debit or credit card that's there. And I encourage you to check out the recurring option. Okay, this will allow your donation to be able to come monthly. And if you're looking on your computer right now, there on the website, there's a donate button, or perhaps you prefer Cash App, we're $ at Inner Light Ministries. But know that every nickel, dime, and dollar is going towards uplifting the consciousness. It's going towards healing and the wholesome work, from the pastoral care work that we're doing, to the food bank, to working with the kids and the various ministries that we have. There's so many things that are going on, supporting our office and us being able to have meeting space and facilities, the online offerings, like all of that and so much more. And we say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. And remember that you are blessed by your own generosity. Your generosity returns to you 1,000-fold. And while we're still in this consciousness of doing that, I invite you to repeat after me. My every act produces abundance. I dare to give freely unto the truth that sets us free. I release this gift knowing it returns to me a thousandfold. Thousandfold. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity. And as always, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel, to put in your questions and comments in the chat, to share this, come back to it, see it again, pass it along. You know, our motto here is take this consciousness and multiply it. See you next time.